And good morning, everyone listening in live. This is Ryan Miller with NCBPA. We'll be getting today's webinar started. Thank you very much for joining us. We know that we've got an awful lot of people that will be pretty busy this week and in the coming weeks with what's going on. It is March 26, 2020, and folks are working from home in a lot of cases and trying to keep business going. And so we are very happy to have some folks here live with us on today's webinar, and then some listening in later on our video. So we appreciate everybody. Today's topic will be career opportunities in North Carolina's building performance industry. This is a topic that is certainly near and dear to our hearts here at NCBPA. We have over 400 students and faculty members in our membership that we provide free membership to in order to help educate them about opportunities for job and career opportunities in our industry. That funding essentially comes from our member companies and sponsors who do pay annual membership dues. And so I wanted to make sure I said thanks to our members and sponsors for their membership, which helps us provide free membership to students and faculty across North Carolina and in some other states. So today's webinar will be on career opportunities. We'll be focusing mostly on North Carolina, but a lot of this information will certainly apply to other states. So feel free to replace North Carolina with whichever state you're interested in maybe working in. But of course, on behalf of the association and our members, we would love to see more folks coming into our industry in North Carolina. So again, that's where we'll focus today. But these resources are helpful for students, family members of students, faculty members, anyone out there that's unemployed, and particularly right now with what's going on with the pandemic, anybody that may be looking for a job in the near future or sometime down the road. This will be helpful information. And then also industry professionals that are maybe looking for a little bit of a change, whether you're in our industry already or looking to move into our industry. So we'll cover topics for all those folks. So for today's webinar, just a quick mention of logistics. We'll be keeping everyone on mute for the duration, but we do have the ability to take questions and comments in the chat box. So feel free to use that in the GoToMeeting console. You can find that with the little comment box and then list questions, and we'll be stopping every so often to check and see if there are any questions or comments that we can address. And then at the end of the webinar, if there's any interest, we'll be happy to open up the phone line and we can actually have some discussion there as well. So also, this webinar is part of a series that we kicked off this week. So we've got some technical webinars coming up with building enclosure systems and HVAC, and then we had one yesterday on biophilic design with Kara Green, and they have another one next week as waste as a resource. We've got moisture control with Nikki Kruger and building enclosures with Jesse Kinsley as well. So lots of webinars coming up, more being added every single day. And then also some online learning courses from some of our partners and other industry companies that we're adding to our website. So be on the lookout for that information, especially during this interesting time. We want to make sure that folks can stay educated, informed, and hopefully learn something new that's going to benefit them on the other side of this current situation. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get today's webinar started. And again, just want to say thanks to anybody tuning in live, and for those folks listening later on, hope this is good information for you. So first off, this is a little hashtag definition kind of a screen that we've been sharing for a couple of years now, just to show that there are an awful lot of terms that we refer to as building performance. And so you can see on the list, weatherization, building commissioning, air sealing, blower door testing, load calculations, recycling, passive design, all kinds of different items and categories and topics and methods that we consider building performance. So I just wanted to start there to show that there is a really large umbrella of terminology that we'll be going through today, but we'll try to keep it sort of at a high level to make sure that everybody's able to follow along and find more resources where they want them. So this presentation is also really meant for anybody that is interested in a job in building performance, energy efficiency, green building, whatever you want to call it. We've got jobs for men, we've got jobs for women, we've got jobs for really, anybody that's interested in having a career or an entry-level job. So if you're on the younger side of things and looking for your first position, or if you're an experienced professional, that's looking to move over, we've got you covered. If you're technical in nature, if you're marketing in nature, if you're customer service or product centric, we have all those types of positions available. So we'll be talking about those today. We've been doing this presentation for a couple of years now and refine it each time we do. And so over the last few years, we've seen quite a bit of news coverage on the shortage of skilled labor. So that's something that we've been definitely focused on. That topic really comes to be from, more technical labor intensive positions that we would call skilled labor, which are basically in short supply right now as far as the workers go. There's lots of jobs, lots of construction happening in North Carolina, but we just don't have the workforce to keep up with it. This current time is a little different. Obviously, construction is still an essential trade, and so that work is going on, but it is a little bit of a transition period. So we think that when we get out of this, hopefully in a couple of weeks or a couple of months, here in 2020, that we will be able to staff up, and there's going to be a lot of positions available. So something to stay in touch with. So just a quick background on myself, Ryan Miller, founder and CEO of NCBPA. We've been around for just over 6 years now, and I will be your guide for today. Some of the information that we'll be presenting has been covered in our prior reports. So back in September of 2018, we released an energy efficiency potential report, which has supported an awful lot of our work since then. It basically identified a pretty large percentage of energy efficiency savings opportunities for North Carolina in calculated workforce impact. And so we'll touch on that in just a little bit. In the prior year, we did a study that was essentially an inventory of all of the energy efficient green and high performance homes and buildings that we could find in North Carolina. And we found a lot. That trend of increasing high performance has continued for the most part, and we've seen some variation in different certification programs and rating systems and things like that. But that report is also available on our website to look at. And then just recently, we've been releasing a brochure of sorts on career opportunities in building performance. So that's definitely the short version of what we'll be talking about today. That's also available on our website. And so you can find this information on the reports and then on the brochure and then also on membership at our website, buildingnc.org. And this next one is relevant for a very good reason. So it's a bit of a humble brag that I was awarded the only professional award I've ever received, actually, from NAHB in 2018 as their Best in Green One to Watch Young Green Professional of the Year. That's not so important. What was important was that the award was really given to myself and NCBPA because of our work to define the added value of high performance homes, in this case, in North Carolina's metro market. So that inventory report that we did not only counted up the number of high performance homes and buildings in our state, but we did a sale price analysis that showed that in the Charlotte, Triad, and Triangle areas, high performance homes were actually selling for 9.5% more than essentially code built homes. So that's the innovative thing that we were recognized for. And what this really means is that, we have a strong market. We have lots of reasons for high performance construction, whether residential or commercial, in North Carolina and across the country for that matter. But a lot of this information isn't being sort of implemented into the market. So as I've given this presentation for a couple of years now, each time I do, I make sure to put a focus on sort of the real estate appraisal, lending, valuation side of our industry, because it's really one of the most I'd say least covered, least actuated. There's really not a lot of people or companies that are out there specifically focused on making sure that high performance homes and buildings actually do realize that value. The 9.5% number is great, but are people really taking advantage and selling and acknowledging that? That's the thing that's kind of missing in the market right now. So that report, again, is referenced on our website. You can see that here, buildingnc.org/resources/research. I encourage you to take a look at that. There's some very clear recommendations in there. And then, as students have heard me say before, perhaps, this is the multi-million-dollar job opportunity to figure out how to make a substantial impact in our industry by making sure that the market value of high-performance homes and buildings is really holding true. So just an opportunity there. We'll circle back to that a little bit later. Also, we've got 2 consumer education websites for folks that are looking for more information. So if you are looking to see what you or maybe your family member or someone else that you know can do for their own home to make it more energy efficient, you can find that at homeenergync.org. And then if you have connections or a commercial building of any other type, so anything non-residential, we have that information also on our other website at buildingperformancenc.org. So both websites are very easy to use. Just click and say who you are. Either you're a homeowner, you're a renter, maybe a senior citizen, or maybe you own or operate a retail chain or a restaurant or maybe a medical building. We've got solutions for energy efficiency, green, and high performance on those 2 websites. So one of the things that we're most happy about doing here at NCBPA related to workforce development and career opportunities is making sure that we can advertise the folks that are looking for positions in our industry. So we've got one example here of Dawn Strength. She's an industry professional, good experience in our industry, has actually worked for USGBC previously. And as of about a month ago, she was looking for a new position. And so we advertised that for her to make sure that we can keep, great people in our industry and encourage companies to look for them. We've also got the capability to do that for students. And so Cade reached out to us and said, hey, I'm looking for, a position in the building performance industry. Can you help? And we said, sure. So right now you're seeing our screenshot from LinkedIn where we shared his information and posted his resume on our website. So that's a resource that we can do for students and industry professionals that are looking for employment. We have a job seekers page on our website. We'll post your resume and description there and hopefully get you connected to an industry company. So that's just a little bit of an intro on some of the kind of top of mind opportunities and issues that we're working on here at NCBPA. And now we'll jump into the agenda for today's webinar. So first, we're just going to do a quick touch on some of the frequently asked questions about industry jobs and careers. This is really just kind of reiterating what are some of the questions that we get from students that are most common and some of those answers, and that's going to drive some of the presentation later on. Framing is not sort of architectural or construction framing, it's just kind of framing our presentation here. Jobs for all backgrounds, we certainly have that to apply. Efficiency versus renewables, which we don't really want to see it as versus, but in some cases it is. So this is just going to acknowledge, that there can be divergent paths in our industry, but also acknowledge that there are great companies out there that are blending efficiency and renewables together, and that's definitely where we see the industry going. Why this industry? We'll just provide some facts and figures on some of the great job numbers we have and opportunities. We'll talk about consumer demand as well, and then growing career areas. After that, we'll highlight some of the companies, people, and projects that are doing great work here in North Carolina. We'll talk about pathways into a job or career. So this is kind of the main part of the presentation as far as what are you going to do to find that entry-level job or first career opportunity. And then we'll talk about some additional resources and just actionable steps that folks can employ in order to make progress. And then lastly, we'll just wrap up with some Q&A. So that will be today's agenda. So first off, just kind of frequently asked questions. Is this industry for me? So if you're considering joining our industry, if you're in school, if you are just getting into our industry, or if you're looking to transition, are there opportunities for you? And the answer, of course, is yes. There are lots of opportunities. We get questions quite a bit about, is a technical degree required, or do I have to have a 4-year education, or are there marketing jobs in your industry? And, there's lots of opportunities in our industry. So we want to make it clear that just because we talk about building science, building performance, and some of these more technical terms, this is a whole industry that is supported by sales and marketing folks and customer service and management and office people and field people. So lots and lots of opportunities. On that item of needing a college or technical degree, the answer is no, you do not need that. Some positions will certainly require it, but definitely not all. A lot of positions in our industry are actually out in the field, labor intensive in some cases and skilled trades, but we have a very, very wide range of jobs in our 84,000 plus workers in North Carolina's building performance industry. So whether you have a college, technical, high school, any kind of a degree, certification, credential, The more you have, of course, is probably going to be better for some positions, but it's definitely not required. So don't let that discourage you if you don't have the same either job or education as, maybe a peer of yours. We have definitely tons and tons of opportunities available for you. Do these jobs pay well? The answer, of course, is yes. It's like any other industry. There's, of course, a sliding scale with some of the lower paying jobs and some of the middle paying jobs and some of the high paying jobs, but we do have all of those. We do have some data that came out about a year ago. It was a national survey that was showing, that some of the field-based jobs and sort of the installer jobs were definitely paying above minimum wage, kind of starting out in the $18 to $19 range per hour on average, which is great. Then we've got sort of the middle level management, maybe some of the sales and marketing, customer service type positions, product management a little bit, where you get into that middle range of, sort of the average salaries and a little bit higher on the hourly wage as well. And then, of course, just like any other industry, we've got, the leadership positions and the management positions and the executive positions, and those are going to pay very well. And of course, we've got other opportunities for bonuses and commissions and incentives, for folks that are kind of in the sales and account management, business development side of things. So jobs in our industry do pay very well. We're always collecting more information on this, and we hope to have some more information on North Carolina's market later on this year. Do I need to work in North Carolina to be in our industry? The answer is no, but of course we'd like for you to. So we've got great colleges, universities, and programs here in North Carolina, lots of different institutions and organizations that are training folks on building performance. And so we have a really good foundation for education here, and we'd love to keep all of those people being trained in North Carolina in our industry, but there are plenty of opportunities outside of our state. So we'd love to keep you here in North Carolina. If your heart is somewhere else, or your spouse is somewhere else perhaps, or your family, definitely look into jobs and building performance in other regions and states. And we would wish you good luck, but hope that you stay here with us in North Carolina. And then also, can I make a positive impact on the environment through building performance? And of course, the answer there is yes. Building performance to us is, any type of construction, design, maintenance, repair, products that's, really above code, which of course is the minimum standard. So anything that's going to make a home or building save more energy, save more water, be a better indoor environment, more comfortable, more durable, more valuable to the occupants and owners, that is what we're after. And really so many of those methods and products and services and design strategies and things like that yield those benefits have a positive impact on the environment, using less energy, less water, less carbon emissions, things like that. All of those are very, very good things for the environment. So a lot of what we talk about is going to have multiple benefits, and the environmental benefits is certainly one of those larger ones. So if I've convinced you already that our industry is of great interest and you should sign up, then we're here to talk about it. We definitely have some more slides here to go through for the next 45 minutes or so, but definitely encourage you to visit our website, check out our member directory to see our companies, and be looking for opportunities in our industry. So I'm going to take just a quick pause and see if there are any questions in the chat box, and take a sip of coffee here. And if not, we'll be going on to jobs and careers for all backgrounds. Okay, so we will go ahead and move on. So the topic and category here is that we do have lots of jobs, lots of career opportunities, and it really does apply to people of all different types of backgrounds. So what do I mean by that? Whether you're a technical person, or you're a computer-based person, if you're a software person, engineer person, if you're a veteran, if you love video games, for example, all of those types of backgrounds can have jobs in our industry and lasting careers as well. So our industry has been innovating and changing for the last 30 years in particular. And so where we didn't really have much for something like building automation 30 years ago, where we have artificial intelligence and systems that are guiding energy and water and comfort decisions automatically in buildings, we have those now. And in order to program those kinds of buildings and develop that kind of software, artificial intelligence, it's going to take some skill sets that, people didn't really have 30 years ago in a lot of cases. So just think about that as our industry and economy overall, grows and innovates, and there's automation coming in. Our industry is no different. We'll have some more examples of that later on. So a couple of categories that students frequently ask about, as far as what areas should I look into. One of the ones that we get is houses or buildings, or residential or commercial. Do you have to choose? Do you have to focus on one or the other? It depends. The answer really is no. If you don't want to be a specialist in just homes, or you don't want to be a specialist in just buildings, then you can work in both sectors. But in a lot of cases, you'll find that the companies that you're going to be looking at for future employment may specialize in one or the other. Some are going to cross over. Some will have single family residential and maybe multifamily. Some may add light commercial, as we call it, where maybe it's a restaurant or a retail establishment that is actually in the shape of a home, or could be a former home that was converted to an office building perhaps. So there's lots of those kinds of situations. But when you get into the scale of, companies serving both the, retrofit, single family, fixing somebody's home side of our industry, and then maybe somebody that's working on industrial plants, that's pretty different. So just a consideration is that if you know that you're interested in residential or commercial, and that's really where you want to focus, then you can really dig in pretty deep in that area. If you're not so sure, then having a fundamental understanding of building science, building performance, green, all those kinds of things is going to serve you very, very well and provide you with a little bit more flexibility as you look at opportunities. Another question we get is kind of about the terminology and where is kind of the role of green and green building these days. And then also, what's the focus on the environment versus sort of market, profit, free enterprise, things like that. Well, the nice thing about our industry is that when we do focus on improving homes and buildings, making them work better, this is part of a free private market that, is run by for-profit companies and supported by nonprofits and government agencies and things like that. It's just like any other, capitalist kind of an industry that's out there. But the end result of our work does have environmental benefits, of course. So not to pick on, for example, the marble industry, but if you are working at a marble manufacturing company, are you going to have environmental benefits? Well, maybe if you changed your product and your materials to, be more environmentally friendly, of course. But on a day-to-day basis, just manufacturing marbles probably isn't doing a whole lot to save the environment. Maybe it is, I don't know. But what our industry does on a day-to-day basis of increasing insulation, making sure that, better designs afford less energy usage, things like that, everything we do is going to be able to have an environmental benefit. But we're obviously focused on having a profitable industry so that our companies and the people that work for them can be profitable and successful as well. So that's kind of the dynamic for us, is that environment and profit are both important, but we are able to do the two together. They're not separate for us. One of the other areas is renewables versus efficiency. And as I said earlier, we really don't like to say renewables versus efficiency, but we've got to acknowledge that there's, in some cases, a pretty big divide here. So what we'll be talking about, and again, I've got it kind of later on in the presentation here, is that we like to see energy efficiency and renewables integrated together. That's really the best case scenario. And we have some companies out there in our industry that are doing this really, really well. But in a lot of cases, if you're looking for a company to work for, then you might be targeting someone that's in the energy efficiency industry, or someone that's in the renewables industry, or someone that's in the storage industry, the battery storage, or maybe electric vehicles. So building performance to us, at the end of the day, is a well-working home or building that, in the best case scenario, integrates efficiency and renewables together. But as you're looking for jobs and career opportunities, you have to recognize that in some cases, a solar company is going to be a solar company, and an efficiency company is going to be an efficiency company. But there are some companies that do very well about serving both markets. And so that's something to look into. And this is kind of our little tagline on this topic that we developed last year, which is sort of the new version of reduce, reuse, and recycle, which was a good tagline developed a couple decades ago at this point. But as I said before, what we like to see is reduce energy usage in buildings first. Then you can reuse the energy provided by renewables, so solar, wind, geothermal as well, hydro if it's available. So we want to have low energy using buildings that are powered by renewables, and then where we can, we want to recycle that energy in buildings and vehicles where we can have battery storage and then having that energy go into vehicles. And then if it's needed, perhaps you can have a vehicle actually charge a home. So those kinds of situations, that's what we like to see. That's what we like to promote. But again, just acknowledge in your job search, you're not going to find that every single company, focuses on both efficiency and renewables and storage and clean, but some do. We do have great examples, of course, and we'll have more later on about energy efficient homes that are using recycled heat, in this case, to reduce CO2 emissions. So this is just to say the technology is there. We've got great examples of homes and buildings that are implementing this kind of policy, this kind of practice, these kinds of products, and we have those in North Carolina. So this is definitely an awesome area of our industry. It's of great interest and great need, and it's a big opportunity for folks that are interested in integrating all of these things together. And why energy efficient buildings? Why are we so focused on that? Well, just to kind of put a headline up here from a couple of months ago, why renewables can't save the climate. That's not NCBPA's position, but this is one of those talking points that's been out there kind of in the political sphere. What we really mean to say is that energy efficiency can cost effectively reduce the time it takes to meet those 100% renewable energy goals that states, countries, municipalities are developing. We've seen that popping up across North Carolina. We've got the governor's executive order from 2 falls ago at this point that focused on more energy savings and carbon reductions. And then countries in Europe and municipalities, including Raleigh and Charlotte and Columbia, South Carolina is another one, they're targeting 100% renewables, but in some cases, you don't see kind of a significant impact or focus on buildings, but in some cases you do. The more focus there is on energy efficient homes and buildings, the faster we can meet those 100% renewable energy goals. Here's an example. It might be a little small to see, but the quote was from a news article we saw a couple months ago. In Germany, which is the world leader in renewables, they have just 35 wind turbines. This was about last year. And the country needs to install about 1,400 per year to meet its climate goals. That's really going to be difficult to do. And so while we absolutely applaud goals for 100% renewables wherever they are, you just have to consider that if we reduce the energy needed first through energy efficient home and building construction and retrofits and repairs, then we can meet those 100% goals faster, and we won't need as many wind turbines or solar panels, and we'll get there faster. So that's really our focus. But there are changing energy markets across the world. There's concerns with regulations and the environment about how to get to that renewable energy future. We certainly believe in it and want to see it, but we know that we're going to get there faster with a greater focus on energy efficiency first. And that's why we talk about energy efficient buildings so much. One other aspect of this is the electric vehicle revolution or incoming growth of this market. And so if we're going to be adding more electric vehicles that would otherwise use gas, which we at NCBPA think is a good thing, so we're diverting that energy source from gas being put into people's cars to electricity that's being provided either by their home or maybe by their place of work or a charging station. So that's increasing electric load. So how are we going to accommodate for that? Well, probably about 2 years ago now, the Rocky Mountain Institute, a think tank out in Colorado, stated that the most effective way to address this increase is by improving the energy efficiency of buildings. Compared to constructing new generation infrastructure, even from those renewable resources that we, of course, support and want to see, retrofitting existing buildings for energy efficiency represents the lowest cost option for meeting future energy needs. All that means is that if you're going to add more electric vehicles to our infrastructure and grid, in order to offset that added energy usage, we should have a complementary reduction in energy usage from retrofitting energy efficient buildings to make them use less energy. So it's a trade-off. Think about if you're going to buy an electric vehicle and you're going to be charging it at your home, maybe the first thing you should do is have an energy audit, have it fixed so that it uses less energy in the first place. And then when you do bring that electric vehicle there, the net benefit is going to be about the same. So you won't be charged any additional energy usage because it'll be offset. That's a great way to think about energy efficiency, renewables, and storage. And just like I showed that house before, this was an article from last fall from ACEEE, which is a great resource for research. Halfway there, energy efficiency can cut energy use and greenhouse gas emissions in half by 2050. The problem we have is that energy efficiency is not at that level of focus or priority. We're starting to see that shift over in Europe in particular, that they are paying more attention to efficiency and that their reports and analysis and studies are showing that they're not going to be able to meet the reductions that they want to see for carbon and such by renewables alone. So they're starting to transition to energy efficient homes and buildings. And we'll see that in the US eventually. We'd like to see it faster than it's happening now, but it is going to take us some time. Okay, I'm going to take another quick pause and check and see if there's any questions before we move on to why folks should join our industry. Okay, so we'll go ahead and move on to this section. So why join our industry? What are the opportunities? What are those benefits? What's the reasons behind it? Of course, there's a lot, and we'll dig in. So this is the report that we released back in 2018, that the Energy Efficiency Potential Report. I'll show just that report here on the screen and go backwards. When we released this report, which was actually developed by our intern, Emily Bulla at the time. So internships work great. You get to do really, really good work in our industry. Our report found that we could actually save 16.8% of North Carolina's energy usage through energy efficiency. So if you think about 100% of our energy usage being used right now, we could actually cut 16.8% of that out through energy efficiency. Just imagine how great it would be to reduce almost 20% of our energy usage. How much less coal and nuclear and gas and things like that would we be able to use less if we were focused on energy efficiency. And you can see the opportunities here. A lot of cases in 10-year savings, that residential retrofits would save $1.8 billion. Commercial and industrial would be $1.7 billion. We'd add $10 billion in savings down here from building code updates over 10 years. And then the public building retrofits number of $420 million, that's actually a lot less. We've already seen $1.4 billion in savings in the last 10 years or so from the performance contracting program that the state offers. In the analysis that the Department of Environmental Quality put together for the bill that NCBPA has been lobbying for, was actually going to save $1.1 billion of new savings in about 7 years, I believe. So big opportunity there. In addition to the energy savings that are available in North Carolina, if we act on them, we can also see that there's significant economic development growth. Here in this third column for energy efficiency sector, we would see a significant increase in jobs. We were estimating about 50,000 would change to about 100,000, so we would add quite a few jobs. We would increase the revenue of our industry, which is great for economic development as well, add more companies, and then save a total of $13.9 billion in energy savings over those 10 years. So that's a tremendous opportunity. And then for those that are on the environmentally friendly and thoughtful side of things, we'd also be able to save 72.9 million metric tons of carbon dioxide. That's the equivalent of 15.5 million cars driven for 1 year being taken offline, or 8.1 billion gallons of gasoline consumed. And then just to kind of put this into perspective, in order to save 16.8% or $13.9 billion in energy, if we were saving that, in order to generate that, it would take 18,286 wind turbines running for 1 year. But our numbers are 10 years. So let's say those same $13.9 billion savings in 10 years for energy efficiency. It would take 286 wind turbines running for 10 years at this point in order to match that for energy efficiency. So we've got great savings opportunities here. Why join our industry? It's because we have a lot of work to do that's ahead of us, and it needs to be prioritized, and we need smart people joining our industry to help us deliver these items. So across the country and across the world as well, we're seeing that net zero buildings are in reach. We've got some that are coming out in North Carolina. We have energy positive buildings as well. That's a trend in our industry. We're seeing that green buildings lease up faster, but they don't get the value premium that they deserve. And that's what I was talking about before with our study, which is that we're seeing the evidence of the benefits that, customer and occupant satisfaction is higher, tenant rates are higher for buildings that work better, are more energy efficient, maybe that have some of that biophilic design that we're learning about lately. But the value premium on the financial side is not kind of happening. So it's just kind of this odd quandary of better buildings are offering more benefits, but the financial value is not really being shown from buildings. And then there's also stories of, can we heat buildings without burning fossil fuels? Yes, we definitely can. That is an opportunity. I'm sitting here delivering this webinar from my tiny house, which runs on a little electric heater, which in the hopeful near future, I'll be able to power with solar. And that's just a small scale example of hyper energy efficient buildings that have great insulation and thick walls and are powered by electric resources that can be sourced from renewable energy. So lots of different ways to handle that. Trending topics, things in our industry that we want folks to pay attention to. Also on the why joining our industry, well, energy efficiency can save lives, and it does avoid huge health costs by improving the indoor environment for folks living in their homes or working in buildings. They're more healthy, they're more safe, and those costs go down. And so that's just going to help support the economy as well. Modular and off-site construction is a tremendous market trend that still very few people in our industry are actually intensely working on. So modular and off-site is definitely one of those areas to look into. If you're looking for career opportunity, definitely a big opportunity there. And then as codes increase, we will probably see at some point in time that, homes and buildings are being more ready, equipped for electric cars. We've set a goal in North Carolina that we'll have net zero energy ready new construction homes and buildings by 2042. And in order to get there, we're going to have to make sure that we're implementing electric vehicle minimum requirement standards for electrical and any other sources that they're going to need from an infrastructure perspective. So that's another category to look into, is integrating electric vehicles into homes and buildings. And then energy positive buildings as well. So sort of the best case scenario for us that we talk about is a net zero energy home or building where it uses the same amount of energy that it produces. Well, you can also produce more energy at your home or building and actually give it back to the grid, put it back to your neighbors or other folks that are still burning fossil fuels. And so energy positive buildings is a great example of another market trend. This is kind of a fun one that we're seeing, the introduction of artificial intelligence and automation and just new technologies in our job sites. And so having, Spot, the Boston Dynamics robotic dog, patrolling construction sites and perhaps looking for defects in buildings, that's definitely something that's actually out there happening right now. And then also drones. Drones are being used to do visual inspections of building envelopes and curtain wall systems and rain screens and things like that. So we can see that our industry of building performance is helping to make homes and buildings work better by leveraging technology. So this is a tremendous growth area for our industry and something that for folks that are interested in technology and automation and robots and computers and things like that, definitely an area to look into. And then this was released back in January of 2018, but it still true from Rocky Mountain Institute that net zero energy buildings, 3 career paths for students to revolutionize the built environment and decarbonize the energy sector. That has put so very well, just like that, that if you focus on, a career in net zero energy and eventually energy positive buildings, it's going to have a tremendous impact on construction and the built environment while also decarbonizing our energy sector. So big opportunity there. Also, lots of certification programs. So as you look at why joining our industry, there's always more educational opportunities out there, and there's lots of those available. We're just going to put a couple on the screen. We've got some more a little bit later on, but these are examples of different certification programs: BS with Passive House, USGBC and LEED, Zero Energy Ready Home Program, ASHRAE, Well Building Standard, Living Building Challenge, Energy Star as well. All those opportunities are out there, and this is different areas where different people focus in our industry as well. So just kind of, depending on what your interest area is, there's going to be resources and certifications and educational opportunities out there for continuous learning. And I've referenced the big job numbers a couple of times already, but here's kind of the visual that we have. This is actually about a year out of date. The new data was just released, and we'll be updating our presentation here soon. But about 84,000 energy efficiency jobs in North Carolina. We would say it's about the same number maybe for building performance, and actually perhaps a little bit higher, depending on kind of how you categorize these. But essentially, there's a lot of jobs here in North Carolina for energy efficiency. It's actually the largest employment sector of the clean energy economy here in North Carolina. So there's about 110,000 clean energy jobs in North Carolina, and about 86,000 of those are in energy efficiency. So it's by far the largest sector, but again, doesn't really get the same attention that solar and other kind of jobs in the clean energy get. Okay, so we're going to head into consumer demand and talk about a little bit more on market trends. The purpose here is to inform students and industry professionals where some of these kind of changing and growing fields are heading, so that you can learn what areas you might want to focus on as far as your career or your first job opportunity in our industry. So before we do that, I want to circle back to some definitions. And so we talk about building performance, green building, energy efficiency, and sustainability really all together. There's little nuances and variation, of course, between these. Building performance to us is just, anything that's going to make a home or building work better, whether it's new or existing. The end result is the performance, and we really want to see that to be measured, verifiable performance. Green building is really, the most common term that sort of the layperson knows about. There's really meant to be a focus on the environmental benefits there, whether it's sourcing materials responsibly or, being a low energy usage. And so there's a lot of crossover there with building performance and green. Energy efficiency, of course, focuses on low energy usage. Water actually is kind of incorporated into energy efficiency as well, because there's a good correlation there. But energy efficiency really is focused on just the energy side. But the nice thing about energy efficiency, and why we still talk about that so much, is that in order to yield an energy efficient home or building, you will be implementing an awful lot of building performance and green building tactics and products and systems and strategies. So there's variation in each one of those. You can have an energy efficient home or building that's not necessarily green, and you can also have a green home or building that's not necessarily very energy efficient. There should be some correlation, of course, but it's not going to be a one-to-one relationship. And then sustainability and sustainable buildings is a little bit more of a broad term, which is a little bit hard to pinpoint sort of a career in sustainability. We've been hearing about that from some faculty members and other folks across the state lately, that it's kind of hard to pinpoint what a career in sustainability looks like. But there's definitely positions out there in our industry and related industries for sustainability managers, whether it's at a municipality or running a sustainability program for a large corporation, or just making sure that the marketing efforts of a local business talk about the sustainable impacts and benefits. So those are all related terms. And again, our industry job numbers estimate somewhere around 101,000 people in our industry in North Carolina, and then about 1,750 as far as the number of companies that are involved in this work. So why not green? We support green building, of course, but that term has sort of experienced this version of greenwashing over the last 10 years or so, and so people are kind of more familiar with that. One example is that, for the Energy Star program, pretty much any appliance you're going to buy at a retail store, is going to be energy efficient and have the Energy Star label. And so are those appliances green anymore if it's kind of become the minimum standard? Well, maybe not, but we do need to show some credit for green building movements that have helped to push those standards up. So green as a term is still very well known to sort of lay people and consumers and folks like realtors that may say, well, this is a green home or this is a green building. But people in our industry will then say, well, how? Why? Show me or tell me, demonstrate to me how this is green. What are the materials? How are they sourced? How far do they travel? Are there different things that get those lead points that people talk about at that home or building? So green is not a bad term, but we have seen folks do a bit of a pivot away from it in a lot of cases, because what's becoming more important in our society, in our industry, is that measured performance, whether it's green, energy efficient, or just on the high performance working well side. And then what does high performance mean? We usually talk about good materials, good installation, and verified performance. That's what we like to see. We do prioritize energy savings and then durability and comfort, but there's kind of this strategy that we talk about and that I love to recommend, which is be prepared to sell a consumer or a business on 10 different benefits of a high performance home or building. But they're probably only going to be interested in maybe one or two of them for the most part. What I mean by that is that if you go sit down at the kitchen table with maybe a husband and a wife who are looking to, improve the energy efficiency of their home, you need to be prepared to offer them 10 different benefits. But if they say the most important one to us is saving money, you need to be able to focus on that. But in order to help them save money by making their home more energy efficient, they're going to get the other 9 benefits as well. So you can talk to them about that and say, okay, I hear that you're interested in energy savings in order to save money, but here are the other 9 things: durability, comfort, environmental, etc., that you're going to get as a result. And the same thing applies to buildings as well. So that's just a good strategy. Add-ons like solar PV make a transition to zero net energy easier and less expensive and faster. So when we talk about high performance, we are definitely looking to integrate renewables and storage and electric vehicles and things like that into the energy efficient home or building. And then unlike green homes, materials may be sourced from far away. So that's where green building does better for sure than some other areas like high performance or energy efficiency. Green building would say, well, we don't want to see, one countertop or one type of material that you're using travel hundreds or thousands of miles away in order to get to your home, because of course you're using carbon and natural resources, fossil fuels, to do that. Why don't you source locally? An energy efficient or high performance home may not care about that as much because it's not the same goal. And that's, again, one of those kind of big differences between maybe a green home or building and a high performance home or building. And then on the green side, so green is definitely more than just energy and high performance. It's going to include water, environmental considerations as well. So are sustainable, recycled, and local materials. So those things have to be included in a green home. And the LEED program, for example, and WELL and others, there's points awarded for those, the NCBPA program as well. Walkability and carbon impact are also considered. So when you think about a green building that people work in, if there are, bike racks and access to local transportation that people can use to reduce their carbon footprint, you'll be awarded points and credit for that. Biophilic design, we did a webinar on this yesterday, actually, with our friends over at Cara Green. That's where you're incorporating sort of the natural environment and, views of nature and live plants and things like that into the home or building, which offers environmental and, health benefits as well. So USGBC and then the National Green Building Standard, those are 2 programs to look into for more information about green homes and green buildings. And then here's just some other programs, and to kind of wrap up this part of the presentation, what we say is no matter what you call it, the goal is to communicate value to the buyer or the owner. So again, be prepared to offer 10 benefits no matter what they are, and then, be happy to sell them on one, but make sure that you're communicating that even if the customer or consumer is only interested in that one, they're going to be getting all 10. Here's a couple of articles that we've seen over the last couple of years that sort of indicate some of these changing trends. The first one was from us. We wrote this article on how North Carolina is leading a transition from building plaques to building performance. That was about a year and a half or 2 years ago. We've seen instances up in the Northeast from our friend Letitia in Connecticut, talking about efficiency and renewables, our energies, rice and beans. That's kind of a fun way to say that. USGBC Wisconsin, 7 need to know building performance strategies. So we've seen the USGBC network talking about building performance and retrofits of existing buildings much more than they used to, which we're happy to see that. And then this last one came from NAHB. It was an interesting survey that just 14% of home buyers responding to a survey were willing to pay extra for a green home. So that's kind of the key word here. But when those same people were asked a different way, more than 80% of buyers said they'd be willing to spend at least $1,000 more for a home that saves them $1,000 a year on their utility bills. And then 37% said they'd spend at least $10,000 extra for that $1,000 a year savings. So this is why some of that green terminology has to be handled pretty carefully, because if you say, hey, do you want a green home? Maybe 14% will say yes. If you say, would you like to save energy and offset, those expenses and have a positive return on investment by doing the same thing, actually, the answer is more commonly yes. And that's why we have to be careful about how we talk about those things. On the market side as well, we're seeing the building and energy codes are moving in that direction. There's definitely a slow go for us in North Carolina, but as we look into the state's resiliency plan and disaster preparedness and readiness and response and things like that, building codes is kind of its own category, and NCBPA does quite a bit of work there. So this is another area to look into as far as job and career opportunities is what are those minimum codes and how to either advocate, for those increases or train the right folks on how to actually meet those code standards. Okay, so we're getting into sort of the actionable steps here of the presentation. So I'm going to take another quick pause and just check and see if there's any questions or comments in the chat box. Okay, and I still don't see any, so I assume we're on the right track. So let's talk about some focus areas to look into. So what are some of those transitioning and growing areas that may be of interest? So in addition to some that we've already spoken about today, the builder issue is really a kind of interesting one that needs attention. And so this is going to be specifically on the residential construction side. But one of the biggest concerns from new construction home builders is how to reduce costs and improve quality. And when you consider that a high performance, maybe a green, maybe an energy efficient home is going to work better, it's going to be a more quality product than a code built home, in some cases, there will be an added upfront cost. And that's the problem for builders. That's the dilemma, is that they want to see a good product, but they have to be focused on the upfront cost. And the reason is because they need to make sure that homes are affordable. And that's their big talking point from 2019 and carrying into 2020, is that they see added codes and regulations that would force them to build a higher quality product through increasing codes as being a problem or a concern for housing affordability. Whereas our industry that says, well, a high performance home that maybe costs a little bit more on the front side is going to save enough in energy bills for a year or maybe over 2 years to be a positive return on investment that's going to last for another 50 years, considering that energy costs are increasing as well. It actually becomes more cost advantageous. That's a problem for builders, though. And this was illustrated really nicely back last month in this blog posting from NAHB. So this is just a screenshot of this conversation back from actually December when the comments came in on this article. But The article, again, was How to Reduce Costs and Improve Construction Quality. And this person named Chuck, this is on the internet, by the way, said, green is great if you have the upfront green dollars to provide the increased cost of material, inspections, and labor. How does this help affordable housing? And you can see that about a week later, so this is probably on New Year's vacation, as soon as the NAHB staff got back into the office on Monday, January 2nd at 10:04 a.m., they responded, although some of the upfront costs may be higher, long-term affordability can be achieved through lower utility costs and better building performance. As noted in a recent blog post, a Freddie Mac study was recently conducted that highlights the financial benefits to homeowners based on these factors. So that is a great explanation from the National Association of Home Builders Green Team about how the long-term added value of high performance does contribute positively both to builders and to consumers. So this is an area of focus and need and opportunity, and our industry is working with residential builders to help them get over that hump of the upfront costs. And this is one of the other articles that's been referenced on how green and other types of energy efficient construction high performance can boost housing affordability as opposed to being a problem. So these talking points and the data is out there, but it's not really being properly effectuated into our market. And that's a huge opportunity for folks to look into. And then net zero is really kind of at that end of the line for a net zero home is going to definitely cost more to build, but over the life of it, the total cost of ownership is going to be less because you'll have less maintenance, less energy bills, less operational costs. So again, back to our strategy of how do we integrate energy efficient buildings, renewable energy, and then battery storage and electric vehicles. That is a growing area of our industry that is a huge opportunity for someone to pay attention to and find a job at those types of companies that are involved in implementing those solutions. HVAC is another huge area for us. So this is a definite need in our industry and one that is just ripe with opportunity. So buildings in North Carolina use 78% of our energy usage. HVAC systems account for about 40% of that. So 40% of the energy that homes and buildings are using in North Carolina comes from heating and cooling our homes and buildings. That's an awful lot, and especially considering that we have a pretty moderate climate here. So when you do that math, it ends up being that HVAC accounts for 31% of our state's energy usage. And so if you look at renewable energy creating more energy, it's creating it from a safe, clean, environmentally friendly standpoint, of course. How is that going to offset, all of that HVAC usage? Is it just clean energy being the source for the same code minimum, not so efficient HVAC systems, or can we make the HVAC systems more efficient in the first place, and then we don't need as much renewables to power them, and maybe those renewables can be pushed into other areas to make a bigger contribution. So HVAC accounting for 31% of our state's energy usage is a massive opportunity. We've also seen in some of our residential and commercial projects that, we do have builders and architects and contractors that are talking about those carbon emission reductions and opportunities. And so for folks to kind of get involved in that carbon side of the industry is a huge opportunity. This is, I think, my favorite quote from one of our members. We had it on the fly during a construction tour that I'll show here in just a second. But we had it from Dylan with a RE design build. We're never going to get to our carbon targets or energy targets just by ramping up our solar production. We need to be efficient and reduce first. $1 towards efficiency goes a lot farther than $1 towards production. That's what we do. That is an excellent example of an industry professional knowing how to talk about this and knowing that just because you're building a house or fixing a building doesn't mean that you don't have an impact on the environment. You definitely do. This is a video that we won't watch right now just because of the webinar technology, but You can find it very easily. It's Zero Energy Ready Home, a better experience, and it does explain how a zero energy home offers benefits to consumers. So that's something to watch on your own. And then just a quick mention on the Zero Net Energy Ready kind of moniker for either a home or a building. That's where, you know, the home or building is built to energy efficient standards and it's ready for renewables that would push it to net zero energy or zero net energy. So maybe it has a HERS score on a residential side of 50. And then if you add a bunch of solar onto the roof, perhaps, you could get that down to 0. A zero net energy home or building is at that 0 standpoint. It's where as much energy as you need is also being produced. There's net zero energy. And then energy positive is where the energy you're using is actually less than what you're producing. So you're putting energy back onto the grid and perhaps storing some of that as well. So those are areas definitely to look into for folks that are interested in the renewable energy and efficiency side of our industry. So back to some of my introductory comments about sort of the real estate valuation dynamic here. There's lots of studies that talk about the relationship between energy efficient homes and buildings, and then sale price and loan performance. Ours was one of them. This is the article that was referenced from NAHB about energy efficiency adding value to properties and loan performance. This same topic is on the residential side and the commercial side. We see it on both. On the commercial side, it's kind of looking at tenants and occupant satisfaction and rental rates and things like that. On the rental side, we'll see it for multifamily properties and low income as well, and then in some cases on single family. So this is a big area to look into about the total cost of ownership, the long-term value of that energy efficient or high performance home or building, and how that, you know, can be a career opportunity for somebody to understand sort of the real estate appraisal and financing opportunities there. And then last on our list for today on these kind of big picture opportunities is building automation. Building Clarity, this was an article they sent out, I think actually just yesterday, so I dropped this one in the presentation. You know, their expertise in artificial intelligence and being a brand under Brady Services and having a partnership with SAS, they basically blend HVAC and data analytics to make buildings work better. So building automation with, you know, light switches and monitoring systems and artificial intelligence that turns things on and off, you know, on its own. That's a really, really interesting part of our industry and a big focus area for some folks. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is highlight some of the companies, people, and then projects that are doing this work. And this information is, I think, all on our website. So I'm just going to click through it briefly, and then we'll get on to that career pathway. So first off, just a couple examples of the companies that are actually doing this type of work. I've spoken about some of our members as we've gone along, but here we'll just kind of provide a little bit more of a snapshot. I like this one from Huber Engineered Woods, which has an operation in Charlotte. This is a position that had been advertised for them last fall, and it was definitely filled. But I just wanted to show that, you know, a manufacturing business, it's family owned. They do, you know, different types of flooring and building envelope and ship materials and things like that. So they manufacture construction materials, and they had position for an innovation project specialist to look into, you know, how their company, how their products can innovate the built environment and focus on sustainability. So, you know, for those folks that think that it's all technical, it's definitely not. This is a very interesting position that sort of blends the world of technology and construction and clean energy, you know, with how does a business market that? How does a business sell that? How do we supply those types of products? So just wanted to highlight that one, and it just kind of showed that many of our industry companies are, you know, doing very innovative things, and some of the larger will have departments like this that folks can look into. If you're someone that is, you know, really interested in having a workplace that's very accepting of different cultures and backgrounds and things like that, you can find very good examples of industry companies that, you know, really speak to those points and really believe in it as part of their corporate mission. Schneider Electric, which is a huge international company, also an NCBPA member with offices in North Carolina. You know, they, at the end of last year, were in the top 50 of the world's most diverse and inclusive employers and index a survey. So that's just one quick example of, you know, the hundreds of positions that Schneider's had listed on their website, available, maybe across the Southeast, and a lot of those in North Carolina. If you're looking for, a diverse and inclusive workplace, some of the larger companies have formal programs about that. But then also a lot of small companies will just be, very accepting of all the different types of people that may want to work there. So just something to look into. This is an image of BuildSense, which is a architecture and design and build firm in downtown Durham. That's their office building. You can see that they've got solar panels and some wind turbines they were testing a while ago there as well. So this is a great company to look into that blends the world of architecture and design, but all of their projects are going to be some version of, green, high performance, and energy efficient. That's just their mission. That's what they believe in. So you can see that a BuildSense project like that, while it looks like a, pretty normal home, probably you'd see that kind of home in a lot of places. It's got very thick walls, very well insulated, and that thing's going to use very little energy. So just because we're talking about high performance and sustainability and things like that doesn't mean that, we're looking at homes or buildings that have to look like they're out of the Jetsons or the future or something like that. We've got, normal everyday products and homes and buildings that people enjoy that happen to be high performers. AeroBarrier is another company that's in NCBPA's membership that has been awarded lots of awards in the last couple of years in the residential and increasingly in the commercial market, where they do air sealing from basically inside the structure. So you put a essentially what's like a blown caulking sealing agent, air sealing agent, a tool, a system in the middle of a room, and then you pressurize it, and then it actually goes throughout like the whole home and air seals it from the inside. So that's a great example of a new technology in our industry that can save builders and consumers, money while also helping to improve performance. Max Life Industries is a manufacturing company that just started in Salisbury about 3 years ago, and they've got great products that are being built here locally in North Carolina and then sold all across the country and all across the world, actually. So just one more example. Build Energetics, this is a commissioning firm that's headquartered in Charlotte, and they've done great work. A lot of lead projects all over North Carolina and the Southeast, including some buildings in the SAS campus, which has pretty good standards. I'd say actually great standards for their buildings to be LEED certified. So just another example of commissioning. That's a big focus area for us. Duck, they manufacture high performance prefabricated homes in Asheville. They're known for round houses, but in the last couple of years have been rolling from their assembly line, on kind of a modular prefabricated basis, more sort of traditional looking homes that happen to be, net zero energy. So that's another opportunity to look into there. So then what are the people like? What are sort of the backgrounds and roles and things like that of people in our industry? So Pam Fosse, she's a former board member of NCBPA. Down on the bottom right here, you can see a screenshot of a video tour that I did with Pam last year, and she is a tremendous green high performance builder out in the Wilmington area and a small business owner, running construction crews and just serving her clients, and she does tremendous work. And so you can read more about Pam on our website and then visit her building, her website, of course, to see more information on her company. Graham Lewis is somebody that we've highlighted also on our website, working for Schneider Electric in North Carolina and the Raleigh area. Went to NC State, got his first job out of school with Schneider, and has just been climbing that ladder for the last couple of years. And as of a couple of weeks ago, he's now the private sector chairperson for the Energy Services Coalition of North Carolina, which is a group that we're involved in. So great opportunity for folks that are looking to take on this kind of volunteer service opportunities and get some new experience and leadership development. Aaron Hope with Southern Energy Management is also someone that we've highlighted. So he's done some work with us on kind of our policy and lobby day visits, and he does training as well, and is just a great speaker and kind of advocate for consumers to focus on energy efficient and renewable energy construction. So he's also highlighted on our website. And I just grabbed from Ann Lebo from a presentation we did on career opportunities back at the UNC Clean Tech Summit. So Ann works for Little Diversified Architecture over in Charlotte, and they have 5 offices across the country and have been doing great work in North Carolina. So Little Diversified Architecture is another company to look into. They've got 415 employees plus. So a large architecture and design firm that has essentially its own division for high performance and green construction. So just another example to look at there. And then what do the projects look like? So just a couple of examples of some of these high performance projects. So this is the one that we've shown before with our design build. These are passive houses that are being built here in Raleigh, North Carolina, that are essentially the most airtight, low energy using homes in the entire Southeast. And so that was a rendering from when they were first being designed, but these have actually been built at this point in time, and we hope to do a tour with them in August. There's a video on our website, That Home Under Construction. So I took that video or that photo, and you can see a video of it with Dylan and Will. It's incredibly educational. It's 26 minutes of just amazing technical information to see how high performance homes are being built. Here's a couple of screenshots from Little Diversified Architecture about some of the projects that they've done across North Carolina. And so you can see that, some of these projects look very green, quote unquote. The one on the bottom right, for example, just lots of, vegetation and things like that. And then some just look like modern buildings. And so high performance, you can really do both. You can kind of make it stand out, or you can really kind of build it into that system. SFLA Architects, they did a project at Sandy Grove Middle School. Their specialty nowadays is really building energy positive public school buildings, and then they operate them for a couple of years and sell them back to the public school system. So it's a very interesting business model that they're doing across the Southeast of building energy positive buildings that have to be very, very energy efficient, and then integrate renewables as well. So there's more information on the SFLA website out there, energy positive projects. Van Munster Design over in Asheville, net zero energy close home and office where they live and work in Asheville. There's information on their project on our website. Sierra Nevada, that was a great project that was done a couple of years ago in Mills River, North Carolina, for folks that have been there. LEED Platinum, and they do lots of tours to help people understand how a large brewery beer manufacturing facility can still be, environmentally friendly. So it's another really good example. Talked about kind of building clarity a couple of times, but we do have some more information on building clarity on our website and some of their LEED certified buildings over on the SAS campus. So definitely take a look at those and kind of learn how, the HVAC and automation side of our industry is pushing building performance forward. And then Mosley Architects is another architecture firm in our membership. They did North Carolina's first LEED Platinum elementary school. And I think they've got some other projects that have been coming out in the last year or so, kind of in line with this. So definitely another area to look into. Okay, so that sort of wraps up the how and why part of the presentation to provide some of those opportunities out there. Now we're going to talk about the actual career opportunities that are available. So moving right ahead, what does a career path in our industry look like? This is just a short example of kind of a tool that we are in the process of developing, which is our career pathway, basically blending, what are the educational requirements or opportunities blended with the experience of being out in the field that can, get you to the place you want to be. So this is just kind of a quick example of that. Here, this is a really great website that we're going to be hopefully building for North Carolina soon. This is from California, but I'm going to click on this. It's an interactive video that should show up okay on the webinar. This is the HVAC career map, and what it does is it shows different types of green jobs based on California, and how you can go from entry level to mid-level to advanced and have different roles in our industry. So if you start as a residential service technician, it shows areas that you can go into in commercial buildings or sales and marketing. It'll show you salary ranges and required education and preferred training and things like that. And then you can see that, you can go into these others like a journey level HVAC technician, and then where you can go from there. And then maybe you become a manufacturer representative, and then you can go from there. And then you're in building automation systems engineering. And then you do something else and something else, something else. And so that's a really neat tool. The website is hvaccareermap.org. we hope to be building this kind of resource for North Carolina here in the near future, but definitely look for that on the website. So one thing that we like to talk about as well is just to answer that question of, are there sort of traditional jobs in our industry, or is it sort of all on the tech side? And hopefully I've said it enough, but yes, over on the left-hand side, those are very traditional types of jobs that we have available in our industry. And then over on the right side, those are some of the things that are a little bit more specific to our industry with architecture and performance contracting, and even on the real estate side. Growing industry careers, we talked about this a little bit already, but digitizing plans, smart and connected buildings, the whole real estate appraisal side of things, retrofitting everything, as I say, just making homes and buildings work better, integrating renewables, high efficiency HVAC, lots and lots of opportunities. So those are all growing areas. And then there are some certifications and kind of educational programs to look into, again, back to that real estate side of things. So that's just such a tremendous area of opportunity that we do want to make sure we talk about it quite a bit. But these certification programs, the NAR Green, EcoBroker, and some others are just a couple of examples of areas to look into and maybe see if one's the right fit for you. And then that opportunity from RMI on net zero energy buildings, that is definitely an area to look into. There are some career pathways to learn how to actually get into net zero energy buildings and kind of what you need to learn. Some of it's design, some of it's mechanical, some of it's products. So lots of different areas to be an effective person and have good opportunities in net zero energy buildings. Okay, so we're almost to the end of the presentation, and we are just now at how do I find my first job? So we'll spend the rest of our 10 minutes or so kind of talking about some of these opportunities before we wrap up here. So some are very clear. Organizations like ResNet, which is the organization that oversees home energy raters, they've got really awesome opportunities for entry-level positions. So if you're looking for sort of that first job in our industry and you're someone that, in this case, is willing to run around with a blower door and duct blaster system and, actually test single and multifamily homes for energy efficiency, there's a job available to you. The salaries are going to start, somewhere between, 30, 35,000, maybe 40,000 for more experienced folks. But you've got a job, you may have some benefits, and then, advancement opportunities. So there's lots of entry-level jobs that are readily available for folks to get started. We have a job board at NCBPA, so you can find that on our website. We do our best to just kind of consolidate jobs that are in our industry, but we by no means have all of them listed there. So definitely reach out, look on Indeed. That's probably the best resource nowadays. LinkedIn, Career Builder, all those job sites. Look for those types of opportunities. These are some of the companies that we've posted jobs for in the past. So I've already mentioned Huber, Engineered Wood, Southern Energy Management, BuildSense, Siemens. All those companies we've had job postings for in the past, and you'll find those companies listed in our member directory on our website. We also have interviews with our members, and so Vanda Musser and Will and Dylan and Nathan, who went to App State, and then Megan and Francis. We've got sit-down interviews with them talking about their careers that are just really good opportunities to kind of hear how they moved up in their industry and got their education and experience. And so just something else to look into. There's educational resources out there as well. So in addition to NCBPA, EBA, BPI, ACA, Everblue, NAHB, ASHRAE, there's lots more. So lots of industry organizations where you can find free online training or other types of resources. We are adding an awful lot of courses to our website as we speak. So no matter when you're listening to this webinar, look at the NCBPA course catalog on our website. We have lots of online learning and free opportunities there. Internships are still amazing opportunities in our industry to go get, maybe a summer internship or a spring or a fall internship if you're a student, just to be able to get your foot in the door and get some experience and be able to find those types of opportunities. We've had interns at NCBPA dating back to 2014, and all of those folks, have had some sort of a position in our industry, and it's great to see, students become interns and then maybe part-time workers and then full-time workers and then leaders in our industry. And so that's definitely a recommendation that we have. For some of the more technical positions, apprenticeships are really good to look into. some of the more traditional trades like HVAC or electrical or, renewables, they have formal apprenticeship programs. And then other sort of related industries, maybe product development and sales or design or other areas of our industry, we'll just kind of have trainee or part-time, sort of mentoring opportunities available. So whether it's an apprenticeship or an internship or a part-time job or a full-time job, just look for those opportunities, to garner more education and have somebody hopefully mentor you into, growing your career. If you have opportunities to join a student club or maybe a local organization on campus or in your community, that focuses on green, energy efficient, high performance, sustainable, environmental, whatever you want to call it, some part of that industry, that's a really good opportunity as well. We've seen students and folks from those networks, come into our industry and essentially already have, great skill sets in organizing, other people and communicating and running advocacy campaigns or maybe doing research or, hosting networking events. And it's a really great way to, sort of be either young or new in our industry, but be able to make an impact in the industry directly by, bringing in some of that volunteer experience that you've had maybe at another organization or a club. This is just about networking. So networking is tremendous, and especially right now with kind of what's going on in our industry, with some companies kind of slowing down and some positions actually being terminated, unfortunately, hopefully on a temporary basis. The more you can network, the better off you're going to be. And so, LinkedIn and just other kind of in-person or virtual, as we have to do right now, networking events are really strong opportunities. So if you're not on LinkedIn and you're looking for sort of a professional position, so maybe not sort of a field labor position, but if you're looking for sort of an office-based position, you really should be on LinkedIn. People will look for your profile there. It's a good way to see who you're connected to, what your experience is. It's a digital version of your resume, but also it's just really helpful to connect and network with industry professionals that will give you a step up above somebody else. And then the NCBPA member directory that's available on our website, you can find contact information and websites for all 200 plus of our member companies there. And that's a really great way to kind of reach out and find maybe a company that you're interested in, and then you can actually find the right contact by going onto LinkedIn. Okay, so we're going to wrap up with just some of the NCBPA resources that are available to folks here, whether you're listening live or checking in later on the video. So we do have a free student membership. This is also for faculty, actually. So if you're a student or faculty member, you can sign up for free on our website, and all that does is add you to our newsletter list, and then you'll get free access to webinar recordings, discounts to events, our biweekly newsletter, and an awful lot more. We do have a job board, so make sure to check that and see what jobs are available. We do our best to keep it updated, but of course, it's best to look at the company's website directly and see which jobs are available. If you'd like for us to post your resume and a description of what you're looking for, we can do that on our job seekers page. So look for that web page and just send us your information. We'll post it on our website and share that on LinkedIn as well. Free webinars and recordings like the one today, all of these are recorded. So members, if you get that free membership set up, you'll have access to dozens of webinar recordings and much more coming out. Discounts to industry events as well, whether it's online or in person. Member profiles, so you'll be able to kind of see and learn about companies, projects, and people as well to kind of get some inspiration and see how other people are growing their careers. Industry news is great to see kind of where the trends and things like that are changing and moving in that direction. And then also our conference. So we are planning an August conference here in Raleigh, and we will hopefully be doing that, but TBD, given our conditions here in late March, we'll see how that goes. But more information on career opportunities is on our website, buildingnc.org/resources/careers. And just a quick mention of that conference, hopefully we're able to do this still August 24 to 26 in downtown Raleigh. We'll have a job fair and lots of people there. So we're really looking forward to that. And then be aware that we do have our career opportunities and building performance brochure on our website. So if you're a faculty member or a family member or a student, you can print off or send a copy of that to someone that you're, think may be interested, and just help them find more information about career opportunities in our industry. So just wrapping up, that's my contact info. We'll be able to stay on here and see if there's any questions here towards the end. But if anybody does need to get in touch with us, you can find free membership and other resources at buildingnc.org. and then you can see that my cell phone and email address are listed there. We are very easily accessible and always willing to help students and faculty and industry pros grow and find opportunities in our industry. So we're definitely committed to folks that want to make sure that we are accessible and able to be helpful. So with that said, that concludes today's webinar. I appreciate everybody sticking with us for a full hour and a half while we presented this information to provide these opportunities, and ready to do that. I'm just going to check and see if there are any questions in the chat box, and I still don't see any, which okay. It just means we've done a good job of presenting this information, I think, but we'll open that up in just a second here. So before we sign off, I just want to make sure that everybody knows we've got more webinars coming up. You can check our events calendar for information on that. And then make sure to stay in touch with us, join up for the free membership, and we'll be happy to support our companies going forward. So it looks like we do have a person that would ask a question. So Kelsey, I think you should be able to speak if you've got a question or a comment.
Yes, I actually have two questions. One of my questions is, so more specifically, these kind of jobs within the normal kind of architecture firms, so maybe not necessarily a BPA building performance focused company, but so my two questions are, what kind of jobs would they have that would be specifically for someone coming out with an energy efficiency related degree? Like, what would that job be called, and how separate would that be from the rest of the tasks, such as, like, you have the architects and stuff, like where would they be in kind of that process?
Okay, so I think for that question, what we've seen is that no matter kind of what your background is, if you're going to kind of get that first entry level, position with an architecture firm, I think a lot of what you're doing is going to be reviewing, existing plans and kind of making tweaks to them. We met with some folks in the AIBD organization. That's the kind of designers, so not at the architect level yet, but designers. And some folks from community colleges were there at this event back in Myrtle Beach a couple of weeks ago, and they do, a lot of CAD drawings as well, modifying existing plans, kind of learning what, the professional licensed architects are doing to be, drafting plans and preparing all those schematics and things like that, doing research on product specifications. So in the architecture field, of course, kind of related to building performance, how do you assemble a wall system, or what are the connections like between, a roof and the windows, for example, things like that. So we've seen that kind of a lot of that research and support goes to some of those sort of entry level jobs, but I'm sure that, no matter what type of architecture firm it is, they're going to be wanting to be, interested in delivering a good quality product. And so somebody that has any kind of a background in, sort of efficiency, building performance, or maybe even green, you'll be able to contribute, some certain value there for sure, just by having kind of that experience.
Okay, and what would you say those jobs would be called? Like, the kind of titles that we should keep an eye out for?
Yeah, I think that was, you might have to go check and, kind of see at either Mosley Architects or SFLA. I've seen positions for sort of, junior designer or assistant designer, those types of positions where you're not a fully licensed architect, but you have experience maybe with CAD, maybe with SketchUp, other kind of drafting or modeling type programs. So I think the best way to find that is probably to go to some of those websites directly and companies directly and just kind of check and see. And, if there are any that have sort of a specialty in, maybe high performance construction like Little, Diversified Architecture in Charlotte, you might be able to see, positions kind of on the traditional side, and then some positions that are maybe a little bit more on the high performance side.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thanks for the questions, Kelsey. Okay. So we'll see. I don't see any other questions, so it looks like we're okay. So I think that will conclude today's webinar then. So I just want to thank Kelsey and everybody else for listening in here live, and then for the folks later on Appreciate you sticking with us. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, needs, anything that we can help with, please do get in touch with us. You can always find our contact information at buildingnc.org. And we, as I said, have lots of webinars coming up. More being added to our course catalog here in the next couple of days, so take a look at that as well. And as we add more, we will be putting those on our events calendar. So thanks everybody for staying with us. We appreciate you tuning in for this topic, and we look forward to helping everybody out here in the industry. So get in touch as you need to, and we hope everybody has a good rest of your day no matter where you are, and good luck out there in the industry. So thanks very much, everybody.